Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show with our host, Bill Shelton. Join us each week as we explore the courses, the people, and the events that shape our great game.
Welcome to this edition of the Michigan Golfer. The pro attacks, the architect defends in the history of golf, according to Robert Trent Jones, famed golf course designer. In this, the third of a three-part series, taped in 1987, Mr. Jones will discuss his design of the Treetops course at the Sylvan Resort in Gaylord, Michigan, his other Michigan connections, including with Al Watrous and caddying for Hagen, and some of the things that he'd like to be remembered for in his legacy on the game of golf. Interviewing Mr. Jones are Terry Moore, Rick Smith, and Jack Berry. Also at the interview is Harry Melling, owner of the Sylvan Resort in Gaylord. Harry Melling, Everett Kirscher, and Paul Nine are credited with jump-starting the tremendous golf boom in northern Michigan, which has made it a destination for people all over the world. Let's watch this exclusive interview with Robert Trent Jones.
The last few years, northern Michigan certainly has seen a tremendous golf boom, including the spectacular course here at Treetops. But in a way, you started it all off at Boyne Highlands 20 years ago. Right. Did you have a sense then of what northern Michigan could mean towards golf and what it could mean for a golf course architect?
Well, you see, I couldn't believe that Everett Kirchner had was not only won a golf course, but he had a ski resort. Now, the hills of northern Michigan are not like those in Denver, you know, and the fact that people were coming up here in droves and he had hotels filled in the wintertime fascinated me. So he was the one that really promoted golf as well as skiing in northern Michigan. And of course, I just come out of New York where we had 95-degree temperature. Where you get up here at 70, it's beautiful. But northern Michigan is not only beautiful, but at this time of the year, the climate is just great.
Is the climate then the primary reason why people have said that Michigan for turf grass is just an ideal locale for building and maintaining a golf course?
We don't have any trouble growing grass in anywhere. Now, different type grass maybe, but it's not that Michigan only has great grass. It's you're developing grass to the climate, and you get northern grasses and southern grasses. And this is a good northern grass area.
Rick, would you want to ask a few questions relative to the Treetops?
Yes, Mr. Jones. Just from being here for over a year and a half now and watching this golf course develop into what I would consider one of the greatest courses I've ever seen, you've created a lot of variety. And one of the things I'd like to talk to you about are your par fives and your strategies. What are you thinking about when you're designing a par five? Your par fives are known to be very strong. What are you trying? What is your philosophy there?
Well, it's related to the shot value of the pro and how to. You see, in all golf, the history of golf, the pro attacks and the architect defends. And you go back to the feather ball, the gutty ball, the first rubber ball, and you have to defend based on the strategy of the attack. And so you have to know how far he hits, and you have to try to divert it. In other words, you can't go. Even the old course of St. Andrews, Scotland, has been natural for defending the attack because it had all these little pot bunkers. And as the ball changed, there'll be another pot bunker, not the same bunker, that would be defending that hole where the player would get in it. So, in developing strategy, we have to try to develop something that converts the golfer to think what he's got to do. And when we make a green, we design a green, we put the different pins on the green, and then we do something to defend that pin position. Maybe water, maybe a little pocket in the green, maybe a slope. All these things come into effect for confusing the golfer.
I think one of the key things here at Treetops, you notice number 1 and number 5 is par 5. Number 1 being a long drive over a ravine, and then your second shot, if you feel aggressive, is to go ahead and go for the green. The only problem is if you hit it a little bit crooked, you're very, very penalized. And I noticed that it's great for the player. A player standpoint, it's a real challenge right off the bat. Number 5, you create it's very rolling, very undulated. The player hits a tee shot, and then he's faced with again an option. You know, do I go for the green? Do I lay it up? If he lays it up, he's forced to hit to a flat area. I notice. What do you think about that as far as the undulations in the rolling terrain?
Well, I think
here?
that's part of the art of defending the hole. I think number one here is one of the great first holes in golf, and it's a 5 because the average golfer can reach it in 3, but the pro can reach it in 2. But he's got got to be real 2 great shots because the angle of the green against the water, and the undulation of the green, and if he makes it, he's made 2 superb shots and deserves it. But, there again, and that makes it exciting. You know, it isn't a pushover.
We'll be back with our exclusive interview with Robert Trent Jones in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Legends beckon me to follow in their steps through historic stands of towering pines, among shimmering banks of heather. Visit www.michigan.org for information about Michigan golf packages and courses. Legends beckon me to play forever, and I follow them to Michigan.
What do you
Trent,
think?
you've been, I think as it matures, it certainly will. It's gorgeous golf course. And you've been so associated with Michigan. We were talking a little bit earlier that even when you were in New York, you kind of became associated with Michigan, and meeting Walter Hagen, who became one of the great heroes here, was the pro at Oakland Hills, and then spent his retirement years naturally in northern Michigan, not too far from here.
Well, I became a very close friend of Al Watrous, who I think was one of the great Michigan pros. And he used to walk with me at Oakland Hills where we were modeled at. And he'd hit shots. You know, he'd take a golf club and hit shots anytime. He probably hits more shots than anybody in the world. And I was very fond of Al Watrous, and he was very excited about Oakland Hills. So we have a great association between Hagen and Watrous in Michigan. Have been 2 great pros that I've had a great relationship with.
Now, you caddied for Hagen, right? As a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Well, I decided you could make a lot of money as a caddy if you went to Country Club of Rochester, because that was the richest course in the area. George Eastman belonged there, and all the big money people. You could make 25 cents a round if you caddied. So I went up the first time. I had to go by trolley car from East Rochester to stop 6 and get off and walk about a mile. As a matter of fact, I used to run that mile, and I think that's what was good for my longevity. Anyway, I was walking up this road that separated two segments of the Country Club of Rochester, and Hagen comes in a white Packard race car. And you know, he was a handsome guy. He had bronze, tanned color and black hair, and boy, that was a thrill. And that was my first approach to caddying whatsoever. Anyway, I got the job, and I caddied there for a while, and then I bought a club for 50 cents, a mid-iron, in the pro shop. And that's how I learned to play golf, with that mid-iron. And I learned to play well enough, so when they had an open championship in Rochester, the Rochester Journal-American, when I was 16 years old, I shot a 75 in the morning and a 69, broke the course record in the afternoon, because I'd learned to play shots effectively with that wood-shafted mid-iron. So when Hagen would come back to Rochester to play exhibition matches with the British, there's 2 British teams who came over to play exhibition matches, Bard and Ray, Duncan and Mitchell, etc. And I would be there to watch them and sometimes caddy for one of them. And that really indelibly got me into golf in a big way.
On that note, how would you wish to be remembered as a golf course architect and someone who's made so many significant contributions to golf?
I think the best monument I can get when I die is to have about 100 of those monuments to people, because they'll go on for another 50 years at least, where those courses will be there. Like the Ballybunion course, they'll never change that course. and they'll always have a picture in the clubhouse that I did the golf course. I think that's a great way to go down, about as good as I want.
I hope you enjoyed this three-part series on Robert Trent Jones. Before his death last year at the age of 93, certainly he impacted the lives of golfers all over the world with his course designs and remodeling. And even though he's gone, his influence and impact on golf will be felt for centuries ahead. Just a reminder, if you missed any of the earlier segments, you can always go to the video archives on michigangolfer.tv and find them. Next time you play Point of Woods in Benton Harbor, the Heather course at Boynton Highland, or Treetops at the Sylvan Resort, or any of the other 500 courses that were designed to remodel by Robert Trent Jones, think about his legacy to this great game we all enjoy so much. Thanks for watching this edition of the Michigan Golfer.